Excuse me?
Yes, sir?
Say, what's that tape you're playing?
What's up, posers, and welcome to the Guest List. I am your host, Justin Hensley, and this is the show where I invite guests on to make lists. This is the solo side podcast of the Punk Lotto Pod. Today, I am joined by Sergie Loobkoff of the band Ways Away, Samiam, Knapsack, Solia, so many more bands. And we are here to talk about some of Sergie's favorite records. We don't have a specific era or time period we're going for here. These are just records that Sergie loves, and they kind of span a few different genres. So we got a lot of different stuff to talk about here. Very thankful to Sergie for talking to me, and thankful to Justin at Noisereel for setting this up. Ways Away just put out a brand new 7-inch single on Noisereel Records. It's part of the Noise Pollution series. This is volume 2. And for this 7-inch series, Noisereel is having bands come on and reinterpret their own songs. So the first volume was for Cursive, and volume 2 is now Ways Away. And the song that they decided to rework is I Should Have Brought a Gun, which was released on their 2025 album, I'm Not You, which also is an excellent record that I highly recommend people check out, especially if you are a fan of Samiam. I'm Not You has a very strong, similar vibe to the latest Samiam record, Stowaway, which came out in 2023. So if you're a fan of Samiam and you haven't listened to Ways Away, what are you waiting for? Go check them out. You're probably going to like it. And this conversation was a ton of fun. You know, we kind of go all over the place. You know, we tap into a few different topics as we're discussing these records. And it's a fun conversation, and I hope you all get as much enjoyment out of it as I did. Please check out the 7-inch again from Noisereel, and check out Ways Away on Bandcamp. And let's get into the show. I hope you hate it. Today with Sergie Loobkoff of the bands Ways Away, Samiam, and numerous other bands as well. But Sergie, welcome to the show. Thank you for doing it.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I had Justin from Noisereel reach out to me saying that Ways Away is going to do another installment in the Noise Pollution 7-inch single series, and if I would be interested in having you on to talk. So that's how we got hooked up with this, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Justin.
Yeah. And we kind of start basic with this show. So I like to ask people, where are they from? Where did they grow up? Just kind of a general idea. You can give as much or as little detail as you'd like on that.
Well, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, from the what's known as the East Bay, Berkeley, and I'm a 90s kind of guy. Most of my bands, when I was a guy that would tour all the time and semi-serious with music, that was the 90s. So like I'm an old fart, and started like in like the punk scene with the place called Gilman Street, which was in Berkeley, and then for years and years I've been in various bands that like don't tour the world, tour like Japan, Australia, South America, Europe, and America. Some people like to say, "Oh, my band tours the world," but there's a lot of the world where I've never been, and they don't know anything about anything I've ever done. So
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know that I've ever seen Samiam listed to play in like South Africa or India anywhere. So
yeah, I would like to go to South Africa. Bands go there. That one never came up. And I
yeah,
have some friends bands that have played in Africa. Like they've gone to I think like actually I don't know exactly which country, but like a country that was just like, whoa, like what are you doing there? But yeah, not us.
yeah. I know it's kind of funny to ask someone who has been putting out music since what, the late '80s, to talk about where they're from and all that fun stuff. But I don't know. I like to give people an idea of frame of
No,
mind, frame of reference.
yeah, I've done a lot, but I'm not very known or anything. So yeah, like most people listening to your podcast are like, "Who's this?" and how do you say his name?
We have some pretty dedicated Sam I Am fans who listen to this show, so they'll be excited for sure. And
Oh, okay,
yeah,
that's cool.
and I'm excited too because I'm a big Sam I Am fan as well as
Oh, okay.
all of your other projects. Really,
When
fun.
you framed it, when you framed it as Justin wanted us to be on because of the 7-inch series, like I go, oh, maybe this guy doesn't know anything about anything.
I just figure you've done enough podcasts and interviews over the years about Sam I Am. You're probably tired of answering a million questions about them. So
I appreciate that, but I don't do that many anymore. So there was a time. Well, actually, like when we used to do like a million interviews, like for example, when we were on bigger labels and we'd have interview days where I would do like probably not more than like 6 interviews. Back then, despite being on Atlantic or whatever, like we weren't very well known. And so I had to do these interviews that were like, how did you get your name? Or like, well, how would you describe your music to the uninitiated and stuff? And that can just get or how did you guys meet? And so that could get so boring. But when I talk to someone that, even if they don't necessarily like a band I'm in, they know it and they know something about it. I don't get bored of talking to a person about that. But this podcast is better than most podcasts because we're not going to really be talking about me, and we're not going to be talking about my so-called career or whatever. We're going to be talking about other people's records and other people's careers. So that is something I'll talk all day about.
yeah, I think everybody wants to talk about music especially if they're like way into it, like people like you and me, just someone who you play music for a living. I listen to music nonstop. I do this podcast. Not for a living. I'd love to, but yeah, I think people like really talking about music, and they can find more to say about someone else's music than their own, just because it's kind of weird just to be so introspective. And
Yeah, I'm sort of skeptical of a person's character when they're really into talking about themselves or what they do, and I always avoid coming off or try to avoid coming off as one of those people.
yeah, definitely don't want to come across as narcissistic or self-obsessed anyway.
Yeah.
So around what age do you feel like you really start diving into music and really making it a part of who you are, either by playing music or just listening to?
I was listening. There was a transition period at probably somewhere around 12 or 13 or maybe 14, because like most people, I didn't understand music. I didn't understand taste. I didn't understand, like, I didn't even know really if I liked something or didn't like something really. Because, originally I would just like whatever my parents played. I go, oh, that's what I like, right? They loved whatever, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Chic, and like dance music. And that's what I liked. And I still like a lot of it. And, like I love Chic and I love Earth, Wind, Fire, and I love Stevie Wonder. But then, like, there was other things that I guess if you asked me at 12 what I like it was just like, I didn't think about it. It's just what I knew. And also because, back in the olden days, you only had access to what you had access to, and you didn't have access to everything like you do now. But yeah, like somewhere around 12, 13, I think we discovered, my brother and I have a twin brother, we discovered, I guess like hard rock and then metal. And that sort of like, captured our little fancy or whatever. Like AC/DC, we went to go by ourselves to go see AC/DC at a pretty young age. I'd say maybe like 14. And then stuff like Iron Maiden and like Metallica and Slayer and all that stuff, like really like grabbed us, and that was our shit, so to speak, until punk came around, and we sort of verved into that, and then we were into punk for a while, and then indie rock and stuff sort of took us away from that. And I would say I'm in a kind of rut that started in the late '80s and the '90s, and then even now I listen to, like, I have 60% of the music I consume is from that period, and it's hard to get a new thing in there because I guess you would call it jaded. You could call it jaded, or you could just call it just normal, like lack of openness, closed mindedness, I guess is what you say. It's like someone says, "Oh, well," like one thing that I always notice with myself is that when someone tries to get me to like something and they discovered it and they love it, I usually am like, you knew that first? Well, I don't like that. And then I realize way later, like sometimes decades later, it's like, oh God, I love that, but I'm just an asshole that didn't want to admit that someone else turned me on to it. A perfect example is my brother tried to get me into Nada Surf probably 25 years ago, and I only got into Nada Surf last year. And it was also, I just didn't like it because I didn't like that popular song, right? I thought I was stupid, and I still don't like that song. But he told me, oh no, there's other shit that is nothing like that, and they're not as cornball. And lo and behold, that's true. And I didn't really realize it till last year.
Which is even late in like Nada Surf's history too.
Yeah, way late, way late, and it's just, I guess, just shows what a jerk I am. So.
I kind of get that, because sometimes people will come to you with a recommendation and you'll be like, I don't think I'm gonna like that, and you do try it and you don't, and you're like, my instincts were correct. But then other times they were right, and it's like, oh, this is great. I did miss out on this.
I sometimes just have biases that are just like kind of plucked from thin air, that are like, like I don't like the way the bass player plays without shoes, and so I just never give that band a chance because I just think that he's a dumb hippie or whatever, and whatever.
Yeah, I definitely have done that with like album covers or band names, where I'm just like, that name's terrible. There's no way I would ever listen to a band with that kind of name.
Yeah. Well, actually, the most, probably the most like egregious form of not liking a band for like illegitimate reasons is when I hate their audience, or the type of person that will wear Sublime shirt. And then I realized when I listen to Sublime, I take all that away. It's like, take away everything from their fan base, take everything away about there's some big MTV band or what K-Rock band or whatever it is, and you listen to it. It's objectively like super well done music, and I spent too many decades just hating on Sublime for no reason, But particularly because I hate bro culture, right? So I hate Sublime, and they can't help it that bros like their music.
Yeah, it is kind of funny, because you wonder is it the people who made the music that are also bros too, or was it just an accidental like circumstance where their music became the thing that bros love, like our Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Yeah. Well, you always hear that, like like you read those old Nirvana interviews or even Green Day. It's like they talk about when they got big, they were like having problems with it because like all the guys that shoved him in the garbage can in high school were now kissing their ass and being nice to him, and they're like, fuck, I don't want that guy to like my record. So, you have no control of who's going to like or dislike what you do when you do any kind of like art or whatever, right? So,
yeah, I wonder if any of your bands had ever developed a bro culture, how you would have handled that one.
Well, I do know that I meet people all the time that like, oh, I love your band for like 25 years or whatever, and then they list out their other bands that they love, or they start talking about other bands they love, and sometimes it makes me cringe a little bit, it's like, oh wow, like I sure don't know what you like about my band if you like that band or whatever, like, which is another form of the snobbery I'm sort of like describing about myself. But
yeah, I guess it would cause some introspection just to be like, what is it about my music that make you like it, and you like those other bands too?
Yeah. But it's, like I say, it's kind of a snobby way to be, and I try not to be that way.
How old are you when you start playing music and actually picking up instruments?
Well, like my dad took my brother and I to the music store. It's kind of a story that I always talk about. And it was kind of like, I felt like a little injustice, but he bought me a pair of drumsticks and a drum pad, and he brought my brother a guitar and an amp. His probably at the time cost, I don't know, close to $1,000, and what I did probably cost like close to like $50. But that was, well, we played piano before that. When we always had a piano in a room, and we, for a very short time, had lessons, which we didn't apply ourselves in the least bit. And then we ended up sort of destroying our piano by like just mistreating it, like kids do with pieces of furniture. Yeah, I got a few drum lessons, and I got a drum pad, and then eventually I got a drum set. And my brother played guitar, and I actually played bands playing drums. But at some point, I just sort of, my brother taught me a couple of things, like how to hold 2 fingers or 3 fingers to make a bar chord. And I sort of, like in a day, sort of taught myself how to play shittily, like some punk, like Descendants songs. And it gave me the little idea that I could do it too. And that was maybe at 18. And then, by the time I was like 20, I started Samiam as a guitar player instead of a drummer, and I never played drums in a band again. And yeah, I just sort of like I guess sort of fell in love with the idea of sort of composing music, which you can't do that well as a drummer. So I moved to that. Yeah, and then like Samiam started it when I was like, I don't know, 21, something like that, and it moved really quickly, like compared to for like Ways Away. We've been a band for like a little over 5 years, and I think about like at the 5 year mark of Samiam, like we were on a major label, and I was like making a living off of it for a couple years and just touring all the time. And at this point, Ways Away has done a lot. Like we've gone to Europe like 3 times and toured here and there in the States, but like we just haven't done as much as Samiam did. I guess we were younger and had less responsibility, and we just dove kind of headfirst in the band. But yeah, I hope I answered the question. I don't know. I always meander around.
No, I was thinking about that too, because I remember looking at the Samiam catalog and seeing like, oh, these were like year after, like they were back-to-back year releases too, which was really quick too, putting out that many albums.
Yeah, by 1994, which we were a band basically 5 years, we had 4 records, which actually Ways Away has like been around for like 5.5 years, and we're finishing our 4th record. But it was, I don't know, I don't know what my point was. It was different times, I guess, and you're younger with less responsibilities and stuff.
Yeah, it's easier just to get in the van and stay out as long as you can when you're younger.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. It's also because of the pandemic, I suppose. But the 5 years of Ways Away has gone super quick. Like it feels like 2-3 years, but when you're 20 or whatever, 5 years just feels like 2 decades or whatever, and it feels like those years went way slower and took more time. Like when you look back at high school, it feels like you were in high school for a long time, but it was only 4 years out of your life. Perception's a weird thing, I guess, right?
Yeah. So. The time dilation, the older you get, the faster time seems like it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been at my job for 3 years now, and I still feel like I've only been there like a year and a half, and it just flies by. Yeah.
I got laid off from the LA Times during the pandemic in 2000, and then I've been basically freelancing, but working at Warner Music. And just the other day, I was like, holy fuck, it's 2006. I've been working at Warner Music for 6 years. Like, it feels like 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going on another tangent. I'll lead you down so many tangents that have nothing to do with this podcast, if you let me.
Well, you brought up Ways Away, so we can shift to that. That is what you're probably most active with right now, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's sort of my focus mentally. Samiam, like I love Samiam and everything, and it's taken up my whole adult life. But it's a complicated beast in a lot of ways. And Ways Away is way less complicated, and it's newer. And there's no, I'm sick of playing that song for 30 years. Which, yeah, so like we just got off two consecutive tours, Europe and America on Ways Away, and I don't think I would do consecutive tours the same I am. So yeah, it says a lot about my like sort of attitude towards it.
What? So you mentioned Ways Away and the pandemic. Did that form during the pandemic, or was it
Yeah,
before? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was an accidental thing that it came together at all because like really the idea of putting together a band, in your 50s is like fucking stupid. Really, really. And definitely like, well, I'll tell you, when we got Jesse the singer and I got, excited and talked to him, one of the first things he said when I was just saying something, expressing my excitement, how things are going, like liking these songs, whatever. And he just like looked at me and really like dismissively, so this band's never going to tour. And I said, oh yeah, sure. Like no pressure. Like, yeah, whatever. And then when we started touring, like he was the total guy that like, contacted booking agents and like every once in a while I'll tease him when gets all excited about something Ways Away. I'll go, hey, you're never gonna tour. And he's like, shut up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's easy to think that when you're putting your band together, in a pandemic. It's like, oh, we're not touring. Plus, everybody has all their other bands.
Well, here's what he was saying, because he at the time he had another band called, he has this other band, Stick to Guns, which is his like full time job. But he had another band called Trade Wind that he was constantly trying to. He doesn't want to he doesn't want to let people down, and he was just constantly letting down the other members of Trade Wind, and they'd get all excited, and he'd have to like cool their jets. And then he was like, "Oh shit! Like I like what I'm doing with the Sergie guy, but like I got to cool his freaking jets because like and everything that we do and everything that Trade Winds did is secondary to his stick to your gun schedule because he makes a living off of that, and he definitely doesn't make a living off of these other bands. And that's why he said it. He didn't say it to be a jerk. He said it to more like, please don't be like my bandmates and trade winds that are constantly making me let them down or make me feel like I'm letting down. Please just don't. We're not touring, okay? Get it out there. I was like,
do you like touring? Do you like going out?
I do. The whole Chuck Berry thing where someone asked him something or other. I think they might have asked him to like touring or whatever, and he goes, I I don't get paid to play music. I do that for free. I get paid to travel. Like I remember when I first heard that, I was like, "What are you talking about?" I love going on airplanes and stuff. Like when I was young and stuff. Particularly after 9/11, like going to the airport and airplane travel is just, and also like corporatization and like optimization of cash for shareholders by airlines, where it just made that whole thing like a bummer. It's just going to the airport. Like when I got to go to the airport, if I had to go to the airport tomorrow, I have to be there by noon. Right now it's 4:30 the day before. I'm already nervous. I'm gonna miss my flight, right? And I'll feel that for 12 hours, and I'm just, and then being on a plane sucks because they optimize the plane for the most dollars profit. So you have no place to put your arm, and you have no place to put your feet. Just the whole thing's not that pleasant. And then with being in a van or a bus or whatever, it's just like you're constantly just like looking at the clock or looking at your phone and saying, "What? We still have 250 miles? Shit!" Like that's just not that fun. And it's different. Like I said, Ways Away just did Europe and just did America. And in Europe, I'm not saying it's Shangri-La and stuff, but it's just like a lot easier because when you get to the club, there's a spread of food and places to hang out and just like whatever. But in America, like if anyone that's toured, at least in the mid to small size clubs, like no one at your destination gives a fuck about you. Like there might be water and potato chips or something, but there's definitely no place to hang out and there's no food, and you know, I I I I love to try. I love to tour, but like it can be grating, and it's not the shows. It's not anything to do with the concert. It's everything else. Especially like this tour we just did in America. We did half an hour sets, which was weird. We were the direct support, but we still only got half an hour. Like I don't know. I think it might have been a band's first headlining tour, and we were all fine with it. But but it's kind of weird because, that means that you spend 23 and a half hours to play half an hour a day.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange.
Yeah. Yeah, that is when you think about it as far as just pure numbers, you're like, yep, we did all of this really hard work to get here. It's set up just for only 30 minutes. And
I'll tell you the weirdest one was the first show. I live in Los Angeles. The first show was in Iowa City, and we drove from LA to Las Vegas, spent the night at the drummer's house, and then drove from Las Vegas to Iowa City. And that was a good 7 hours. And then we went and played half an hour, 30 minutes in Iowa City. And I was thinking to myself, what the fuck was that all about? To start a tour.
Yeah.
And that's what you do when you go on tour. That's one thing that I think is lost on people that don't know too much about the actual realities of touring. When they, sometimes a band can't help themselves, but they might complain a little bit from stage, and then people will be really disappointed. And those guys are assholes. I'd love to be in a touring band. What they don't understand is what they don't see a little bit.
That kind of reminds me too. My brother and I, we talk about this all the time. It pops into my head every time I think about Samiam live. I saw you guys play one of the fests 10 years ago, in Gainesville. And I remember from the stage, I think it was the show that you had where you had 2 bass players because you didn't have time to get somebody ready.
No, our bass player he basically got hungover and didn't make his flight. And then he said, I'm too hungover. I don't want to go. But he didn't want to tell us that. Because I bought him a ticket from another airport and he could have totally made it, but he purposely missed that. It's one of the reasons why he's not in the band.
I would imagine. But from that show, I remembered specifically Jason making a joke about you waited a really long time at a restaurant down the road, and he just made a joke about I could fold a burrito with 2 fingers, and that has been in my head since that show. As I could see that as being something that people might be like, "Hey guys, seems like an asshole. He's complaining about the restaurant." It's it was just funny to me. I thought it was pretty entertaining because I ate at that restaurant too, and they did have a really long wait. So
yeah. It's so easy when you have a microphone. It's so easy to come off as an asshole. It's because no one knows necessarily what's going through your head when you say some of the stupid shit you might say. And when I say you, anyone.
Yeah.
That's what I always think about public figures, which I'm not a public figure. I even think about it with people I think are complete assholes, like Trump or whatever. He can probably say some of the stupid shit he says, and some of it's just egregiously, ridiculously antisocial and fucked up and selfish and unempathetic. And other things are just innocent things that he says because he's not watching his mouth.
Yeah, it just pops out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy.
Not to compare myself to Trump in any way, but like him, I can say some shit to make me look like an asshole.
So, with Ways Away, you had put out a record last year called I'm Not You, and on that record you had a song called I Should Have Bought a Gun, which you then chose to rework for this Noise Reel 7-inch Noise Pollution single series. And I kind of wanted to check and see, like, how did you get involved with Noise Reel, and how did you come to choose that particular song to work with?
Well, I'm friends with Justin, a fan of his band, and he had done the first one with Cursive, like you said earlier, and he came at us to do that and to do it in conjunction with this like video that we did with Quaker Pedals, and he lives in Bakersfield and we live in LA. And also our drummer's in Joyce Manor, so he's been gone all year. We basically had fill in drummers all year. So like, if it was anyone else, not anyone else, but like almost anyone else, it's like we don't have our drummer, and you live 3 freaking hours away. But he's such a real peach of a person, and I like the idea, and we all love Cursive, so it's like, anything to be like on the same breath as Cursive is kind of a neat thing. So it was easy.
Yeah, the way this series works is you take a song you have and then you kind of rework it in different ways. I haven't been able to listen to the single because I don't know that they've put these up.
It's not out.
Yeah, I know there was a delay too with the vinyl.
Yep.
So I haven't been able to hear them yet. So there's two different versions of the song on there. What's the difference?
On the 7-inch, there's three. There's the album version, and then we had previously done like a acoustic thing. Just Jesse, the singer, and I. Mostly Jesse and I had some little doodads on guitar, and what we did with Justin at his studio was sort of reimagine the song. The song was like a song that originally was a Samiam song that was kind of like a shuffle, which is like a waltz basically. And we actually recorded the music when we did our last record, but Jason, the singer, whenever he doesn't do a song of mine, I don't know whether he doesn't like it or he'll say, I just not really inspired and I can't figure out what to do to it. But what does that mean? It means he hates it. I think I actually think that everyone except me, because it's my little baby, didn't see any merit into it. And then I brought it to Ways Way, and it also got a pretty like unenthusiastic response from everyone in Ways Way. And the bass player Ways Way is the bass player Samiam, so he was already probably predisposed to be like, I don't think this one anyways. And then I had the idea, well, what if we change it from the kind of like Elliott Smithy kind of waltz or that kind of waltz to like more like a Marilyn Manson waltz? And then, through like in a fucked up way through on the computer, stole the Beautiful People drum beat, and then with DJ software, like stretched it and fucked it up over that. And everyone was like, "Oh, that's even worse." And then I don't know why I really wanted to save it. I'm like that with anything I write and stuff. I just sort of last ditched it. And there's a song by Stone Temple Pilots, which when I was younger, I hated Stone Temple Pilots, but as an old fart, I kind of love them. Called, what's it called? Trip? I don't know. It has it's a Stone Temple Pilots song with Stone Temple Pilots drum beat, which is very specific. And if you hear the song, you go, oh yeah, that does sort of sound like that. And then Jared, our drummer, sort of like put a spin on it, and it just sort of came together, and suddenly everyone loved it. And Jesse wrote some lyrics that was sort of, about even though it has the word gun in it, it's not about gun, like his pro gun stance or anything. It's about voting in America, and like the gun part's sort of hyperbole. Although he likes guns, totally anti-guns, and he loves guns. But it's not a song about, I love guns.
Yeah.
It's about how fucked up our society is and voting and stuff. And so he got all stoked on it. And then it ended up turning into the first song on a record, which is like a pretty like coveted spot on a record, right? And
yeah.
So like it went from pretty much universally hated by two bands, like a set of 9 people, to being like a like song. And then when we went into Justin's, we didn't really know what to do, and it was actually a little tense. But Nick, the little fill-in drummer, and Chad, the bass player, just started fucking around. Sort of, Nick's favorite drummer is Trey Cool, and started played it just like really straight, kind of like, I wouldn't say Green Day style, but just sort of like that. And he actually lifted like a really recognizable Green Day fill that's in this version, which when you listen to it, I think if you listen to it, you might recognize. Like it's like, but it's from Welcome to Paradise. It's like but to the butt, like this little thing that's like a little signature part, and it made its way on. And it's not like the song is totally like holy shit, totally different, but the vibe is completely different, and it went from that Stone Temple Pilots like groovy or like almost funky rock beat to like a straight like Green Day kind of thing, and that was the twist. So there's an acoustic version, there's a punky like the Gilman Street version, and then there's the album version on the 7-inch, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'll have to get Justin to send me a copy, and so I can listen to it, compare it myself. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what's next on the radar for Ways Away? You did mention that you're working on your next album.
Yeah, we've been recording it since February, and the music's completely done for like more songs than there will be on the album, for like 15 songs. And I think vocal is probably like 8 7 are done. But the thing is that, last month and a half we were on tour, and now Jesse the singer is on tour all of August and all of September, and a lot more than that. So we would be done by now, except for schedules and stuff. And so that is the next thing for Waits Away, is to feel like we'll probably play a couple more shows this year and stuff when time permits with his and the drummer's schedule. I think I didn't complete my sentence about the drummer, but the drummer is also in Joyce Manor, and 2026 is the year of Joyce Manor. They're just like blew up.
Yeah.
And so he basically said, yeah, I definitely lost track when I was going to say this. He's just basically said to us, yeah, I'm out for 2026. And so we've played with fill-in drummers, 2 great guys, this whole year. So, yeah. So not only is it Stick to Your Guns and the singer going away, it's our drummer goes away.
Yeah.
And it sort of slowed the progress of this band. And we've turned down the number of things that we've been asked to do, like little tours and shows and stuff that we oh yeah, and when is it? No, can't do it. It's if I took it more seriously, or I thought this was a career or whatever, I would be very dejected. But I'm not, because I'm just sort of happy that it exists at all, and grateful that it exists and it's part of my life. So, yeah.
Before we go too much further, I did want to mention Samiam put out a record in 2023 called Stowaway. And Samiam's still active. You got some shows coming up the rest of this year. It looks like a little bit of a Europe tour maybe, and some festivals.
We have Fest that you brought up before, and we're going in September. We're going to South America, which is really good for Samiam. We do really well down there. So exciting. And I guess we're doing Europe early next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, Samiam's got some junk going on in it.
Yeah, it seems like Samiam's focus over the last 15 years has been just live. That's really it. Besides,
my focus until maybe a year before we finished Stowaway was to do another record, and it was pretty much everyone except for the singer, and life sort of gets in the way, and his attitude, and it took him. What did it take him? It took him 12 years to sing to these songs that we kept writing songs and demoing them and throwing them away because he never sang to them. And that's one of the kind of reasons, like I touched on before, where I'm sort of more into Ways Away, just in my head, than Samiam is. Everyone but me kind of want to do another Samiam record, and I'm kind of don't really want to, because I'm just making the last one over the span of those 12 years was just very frustrating, and not in a way that I was mad at anyone, more just if we can't do it, or it's not easy to do it, it's not fun to do, I just don't want to do it. And we could write songs and record the music all day. We could come up with 100 songs in 3 months or whatever, because that's the easy part. The real hard part is to write good lyrics and write good melodies. And yeah, like Jason doesn't have the time to do it like he did, or the mental capacity, with everything in his life, with kids and work and everything. And so, which I totally respect, but also it just takes me out of interest of it. So yeah, so now I feel for the last, number of years, I feel it's just touring, and I just want to, I still want to do it. I just don't really want to open up the ball of wax of making another record. It was just going to be so freaking hard to do, And I'm not 100% sure that the world needs another Samiam record.
Yeah, I noticed there was a big gap between Trips and Stowaway. Yeah. And I wondered what that was. So yeah, you kind of.
Yeah. We recorded demos, I think 5 times for various songs in that time, and not one of those demos was sang to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So and when we made the demos, he was all excited. I'm going to go home. I'm going to work on this. And then, oh, wow, 2 years went by since we did that last time.
Yeah. I could see the reason why Ways Away was probably the more exciting project, because you're getting to use all of your ideas that you've come up with, and they're actually, you're getting vocals on them.
Yeah.
And not throwing away like those other songs.
Yeah, and I have a guy that's really excited to sing to it, which I'm not this. I don't want to sound bitter, or that I have any kind of ill feelings. George Chasen, the singer, Samiam, because I honestly don't. At times, I was frustrated, and I guess I did. But if I look at it now, I don't have any at all. empathetic and understand why all that went down. But you know, like a big chunk of Ways Away songs. We have three records now, four records, but a big chunk of that catalog are songs that were recorded, developed, and demoed by Samiam, and like I said, didn't get sang to or got sort of kind of rejected by Jason. And then I was like, oh well, I have a new outlet for that.
Yeah.
It's this band.
Yeah, that way those ideas don't go to waste. You have your creative fulfillment, and so now Samiam can just be the fun thing you do on the side.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, thank you for answering, all the questions and talking about all that stuff. And
Sure.
we can get into the actual list making portion of the show. So with this one, I sent you a list of prompts, and then you sent me just a list of albums and said, you figure it out. So what we're going to do here is I think we just decided on these are just some personal favorites of yours, and they don't really fit under any one specific category.
Yeah, like it's so hard when you have to make a list about anything that you love, like movies, books, or whatever, because A, it changes, and B, I mean, you just want five, like of all the music that's ever been created. But yeah, I came up with it, came up, and whatever. We'll talk about those, and those are the ones for this podcast.
Yeah, these are the 5 records you chose to talk about today. Whatever you want to call it, that you can call it that. But yeah, you span a couple different genres here. You've got a couple different decades too, so we can kind of go in any direction you want to go with. What do you want to start with?
Oh, I guess we could start with a record that's sort of, I think I touched about it a little earlier. I don't know if it'll get cut out, but originally I was into like soul music, and then I went into hard rock, and then went to metal, and then punk sort of killed my interest in metal. In the same respect, going to see Sonic Youth, like in, I think it was 1986. I was super young guy, but it kind of changed my, it sort of made, I wouldn't say made punk seem silly to me, but after that one night, like I can honestly, it sort of changed my musical taste, and I turned more into like indie rock and sometimes a lot mellower, and a lot of times a lot I don't know, like headier maybe kind of music after seeing Sonic Youth. So I chose, actually it was the record that came out before the tour that I saw at Sonic Youth, which was Evolve, right? And I don't know, maybe you could play a little Evolve right now.
Yeah, Evolve. So the reason why did you get into them with the record, or did you get into them after you saw them live? Which do you?
After seeing them live, because I was kind of familiar with them, but those were the days when you really wanted to get into a band, you either had to have a cassette, or you had to go out and buy a record, or you go to someone's house and they have the record. And I didn't have access to any of those three things. I remember talking to a friend of mine who was talking about the Evolve tour. They played the same place as I saw them at, which is the Fillmore in San Francisco, which I think is maybe like 1,000 people. And when Evolve came out, I think it was 1986, like a band like Sonic Youth playing that big of a venue was like crazy. Like it was I wouldn't say, I mean, it kind of was the pinnacle of what you could think of a a band doing it. It was before Nirvana, certainly, and it was kind of crazy that they were big enough to do that. But I saw them the next year, which was the Sister Tour, and it's kind of a funny story. It's like at the time I was like a drummer, and it was a band called Angst that were an SST, and then it was Fire Hose, and then the headliner was Sonic Youth. And during Angst, or in between Angst and Fire Hose, one or the other, somehow, maybe because the drum set had to be in front of a drum set, and so it was very close to the side stage, I grabbed a set of drumsticks and put them in my back pocket, like I stole them, which now it's very bad luck, stealing musical equipment from a band. But I was, however old I was 16, or I don't know how old I was. And then during Fire Hose, like a guy that worked there, like saw drumsticks in my back pocket, and it's like, that little shit stole some drumsticks. Didn't see me. This was like half an hour after I had actually been the asshole to steal it. And he pulled me my shirt onto the stage. Like, didn't weigh that much. I was probably like 105 pounds, whatever. And then these two big bouncer guys started yelling at me. And I was like, cocky. I was drunk. Me and my friend Troy drank wine. I was drunk, an early drunk experience. And I was cocky as fuck. I don't know why I was so cocky, and lied to him, said I brought him from home. It's like, who brings drumsticks to a show? And that, whatever. And they were two dumb guys, because they took me backstage, and took me to the guy from Onks, and the guy was like, he was nice. He said, no, these aren't mine, when they were his. And then he took me to like George Hurley of the Minutemen, like, the drummer of Fire Hose. And that guy was so cool, because he sort of put his arm around me and took him aside, away from the bouncers. And he said, hey, I don't think you understand what's going on here, but these two guys would love to kick your ass and throw you in the alley right now. They have no problem doing that. Just whatever. You should just like be more respectful to them, and just give them the drumsticks or whatever, and just go back in the audience. And I was like, nah, George Hurley from Minutemen and Firehouse. These guys wouldn't kick my ass. And so these two fucking dummy, he was like, okay, well, I don't really care. Like, bye.
Not my drums.
And yeah. And then these two guys, well, Sonic Youth started playing, and these two guys thought it would be like punishment, or I don't even know what they thought. Like, looking back, I would have thought they would just grab the drumsticks and kick me out the back door. They sat me down on the side of the stage. And for the first like 6 songs of Sonic Youth, I had the best seat in the house on stage. Like, I had backstage passes. And then I sort of realized I was getting a little more nervous. Like, oh, how's this going to pan out afterwards? But they were putting me there because they were going to ask Steve Shelley at the end of the set, are these your drumsticks? And they were. Presumably they were going to either kick me out, which would be the end of the show. What's the point of kicking me at the end of the show? Or they were going to kick my ass. Who knows what they were going to do? I don't know. Honestly, looking back, this whole story sounds preposterous and untrue, but it's all true. But then I saw my friend Troy and a couple other people I knew out in the audience, and they were like, "What the fuck are you doing there? Like, what are you doing on the side of the stage?" And I was waving at him like, "Hey, fuck you, look at me." And then I realized at some point, it's like, what are these guys doing? And so I could just do a stage dive, and I'm gone. And that's what I did. I did a stage dive and went in the audience. And then anyway, I went home, and must have bought Evol. And even to this day, it's like the way I play guitar, even though I don't play that style of music, I think it's informed by the way those two guys play guitar. And not only my music taste changed to be into more like less traditional kind of like sounds and stuff, but made me just way more open to like other styles of music that before I would never have paid attention to. And because of that, I avoided a lot of like styles of music that I just considered to be kind of dumb, like Pennywise or NoFX. Like, I never got into those bands because they sort of came along after. Whereas I totally love still to this day, like Bad Brains and Circle Jerks and Dead Kennedys. Like, I really just didn't really get into some of the more bro-y kind of punk rock that came after that period. And it's because like it's hard to go back to like I don't know how to put this without sounding snobby, but like just like more dumber kinds of music after what I consider dumber after like I get into more like sophisticated kind of music. And this is all opinions. I don't want anyone to listen to think I'm just an asshole or whatever. It's just my opinion and my perspective. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to run to TMZ and be like, Sergie from Samiam says, No Effects sucks. And,
Yeah. Well, I don't think. I mean, I think that like Fat Mike thinks Samiam sucks, and I don't think he thinks I love. And I don't mean to pick on Pennywise and NoFX. It's like the first thing that came to my head. You know.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Like that's what that kind of represents more specifically, though. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned them already. Do you want to talk about the Circle Jerks next?
Yeah. So the album I picked was Circle Jerks. I don't know if I think I picked Wild in the Streets.
Yep.
Let me cue the music now.
Yeah.
What they did, past to present, got us in this situation. Predicament, nowhere to run. Everybody's building bombs. No more housewives, days of our lives, television, Disneyland, festival, Disney Night. Determines on his deathbed, our president's popularity down. An epileptic called the colonel presses a button, it's all knocked down. No more housewives, days of our lives, television, Disneyland, festival, Disney Night.
And so this was, I don't necessarily, when I think of Circuit Jerks now, think of this record being better than Group Sex, the first one. But this is one that we had. And like I said before, just in the time, it's like you really liked what you had, you know. Sometimes I would get a sticker and I got a free sticker and suddenly I got a sticker or a shirt. And it's like, I like this band. I didn't necessarily love the band, but it's like I was like, oh, I'm part of the I'm part of a fan base now or whatever. But yeah, this record, the thing is, I love Circuit Jerks. I would go see them. I haven't gone in years, but I would go see them anytime. And I've seen them a million times. But Group Sex was, Wild in the Streets. I probably like now, objectively would say Group Sex is the better record. But then after Wild in the Streets, as much as I loved it, both of us, my brother and I, we never really liked another record after that. And I'm not even sure if there's a Circuit Jerk song like that I liked on any record after that. So which is kind of weird because they sort of like when 4 came out, it was like they slowed down a lot, and then they had all these sorts of like lineup changes where it was like in a way not even the same band. Now when you see them live, like they have a super like amazing, aggressive, fast, ridiculously fast, powerful like rhythm section, but for like all through the 90s they didn't. They also had a subpar drummer, and I'm being negative right now, I should stop myself. The good thing now is like how great they've been since they reunited, judging by the YouTube videos. Like I said, I haven't seen them, but yeah, that record was just like Bad Brains, Circuit Jerks, Minor Threat, they're sort of interchangeable, and Circuit Jerks just such like amazing time in music, how they just like came up, invented all this shit and the speed and aggressiveness and just like the kind of idea of like super nerdy people making very confident, aggressive music, you know, like which never really happened before. I feel like it was like heavy metal was always like everyone trying to convince you how cool they were. Whereas like the Circuit Jerks, I don't think anyone would mistake the Circuit Jerks for being cool. And I wouldn't say they like, well, they didn't wave a nerd flag, but they definitely waved a freak flag, which was like really like attractive to me and still is. Yeah, so I don't know. Circuit Jerks, one of the greats.
Yeah, it's funny. I never really thought about the identity that people in these bands at that time would have had. You're right. It is a little bit of the freak flag flying stuff. I guess Descendants would be your nerd, embracing the nerd side of things. Even like everybody kind of has something. Yeah, Black Flag's got that, freaky side. There's I guess Minor Threat, their thing is they were just so youthful. That was kind of their big thing early on. But yeah, there was a little bit more of just, we're not like other rock bands. We're
Yeah.
completely different. From metal, we're completely different. Radio
What
rock.
what I hate is when people talk about that era. Well, they usually talk about the Ramones, and they said, "Oh, the Ramones," or they talk about it when they talk about Gilman. It's like anyone, I could do it if they could do it, kind of thing, and anyone could do it. And I'm like, that's true. That's why there's like, 150,000 terrible bands in the 80s, 90s, and 1,000. But when you talk about like the Cirque Jerks or even like Angry Samoans, like and the Dickies and stuff, these are like they did it so well, and all these bands that sort of followed, from my perspective, not all, but like the majority bands didn't do it like the Circle Jerks did, or definitely no one kind of did it like Minor Threat did it or Bad Brains did it. They were just like so beyond their peers, and people try to copy it, and they just don't do it as well. And Samiam or whatever, anything I've been involved in. And you look back and you just think of what was going on in like 1979 or 1981 and how these bands invented this shit. And then suddenly there was this whole community and it created what now is this giant network of clubs and promoters, which is just like didn't exist then. They just like willed it into existence worldwide. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I've always felt that punk was the reason why alternative rock and indie rock even existed, because it's so much of that punk identity ethos, even the DIY element of it, like it inspired so many people going forward. Because previous to punk, it's like there were boutique labels, some small record labels that didn't put out huge albums, but for the most part, it's a lot of major label stuff. It's primarily major stuff.
Yeah, it is. And I always like my other brother always talk about this. It's like, we're not like super into punk and hardcore and haven't been for like decades. But almost every band that we like from the 90s on or whatever, you can tell that the people into it were into punk and hardcore in their formative years. And like even now, like I'm looking at the bands that play at the Warped Tour, and you can just tell the bands that were into punk and hardcore before they were in these huge punk and hardcore bands or metalcore bands, and which ones, no, they were into Limp Bizkit and shit that I think sucks and don't have the perspective of real indie rock or real punk rock. And they don't have to play that style for me to sort of like, they have to play and even an inkling of it, but there's a vibe of or a realness. I don't know even how to describe what it is, but you just can tell when a band that just liked mall punk, and now they're a big mall punk, and a band that might play just like slow indie rock, but you can tell, oh yeah, but they were into freaking Minor Threat or like some real shit before they started this. I feel like there's such a vibe that you can pick up on, even if none of the like musical elements of it are in there. It's like the way they conduct their business, the way they like, I don't know. There's a lot of indicators because there's something like these Warped Tour bands. Like I'm just like, this is not punk or indie in the slightest bit. There's way closer, even though it's like or fast or whatever. It sounds, the vibe of this band is way closer to Taylor Swift or the Backstreet Boys or any kind of like real commercial, business oriented band than it has anything to do with Circle Jerks or Minor Threat or what have you, And yeah,
you can see it. Yeah, I mean, I guess that comes from, if you're into punk rock, you've always seen the argument and heard the argument or made the argument of like, oh, they're posers, they're not into it. And it's like a similar kind of, you have that skill set of being able to try and spot it. So seeing like, you don't come from punk, you just like know what it sounds like and you're trying to do it.
Yeah. And I just like, I was on YouTube just looking at these bands that are so giant, so much like 500 times bigger than any band than I've ever been in. And I'm like, and some of them like play just completely like metal style hardcore and or punk rock, vaguely kind of music. And I'm like, there's nothing about this band's presentation or their like rock star moves or if you go to the merch booth and they have like 500 different items you can purchase. And that's what that's what they're there to do, is just try to make a buck, which like, more power to them. They live their life the way they want, but it just doesn't. I'm not trying to condemn them as much as say as like I'm not interested, and I'm turned off by these kinds of bands and stuff. And it's the same thing also when I hear, and I don't want to bag on Blink-182, but when I hear a band and I'm just like, oh yeah, this band came up listening to Blink-182. They didn't listen to any real, what I consider to be real kind of ethos style punk rock or indie rock. They grew up listening to freaking, the radio and Blink-182. You can sort of like, I can spot it a mile away by not only how they sound, but just like everything involved revolving around the band. Even just like you walk up and see them on stage and even sometimes what kind of instruments they're using. I'm like, like this band sucks.
Just judging by the gear brands that they use.
I said that several times in this little conversation, but which shows what a snob I am too. I'm not saying they suck. I'm just like, I'm not into this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, I'm an idiot if I don't love Blink-182 because everyone else on this planet loves Blink-182.
It's similar to just being like, oh yeah, I don't really care about big budget action movies. I'd rather watch a more intimate drama or just a horror movie.
No, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
When people like always try to define punk, which I was like, this asshole's digging a whole. It's just like Zen, like when people try to define what Zen is, or when people try to do anything like spiritual or religious. Like, if you're going to give a definition, for example, of Zen, you just don't even freaking know what Zen is, right? And the same thing with punk. If you're going to go sit there and be on the grandstand, this is punk or whatever, or any kind of like thing like that, you don't know what the fuck it is. I'm not saying I know what it is, but I know what it isn't, and it's not being a grandstander like expert on what it is. Right?
Yeah, like
and
our podcast is called Punk Lotto Pod, and I don't necessarily even consider myself an expert on punk music. I just love what I consider punk music, and I call things punk that aren't traditionally classified as punk because I see that what you're talking about, that punk spirit that's there. I can't really define it. I can define elements, but I can't give you like a here's what it is either. Yeah,
like when you listen to like 60s music, like garage, I guess there's a genre it's sort of loosely called garage punk, but they're not like punk in any kind of like Sex Pistols way or anything. But you can tell that they're in the same game. They're playing the same game as a punk band. It was just like 1963 or whatever, and they lived in freaking Lima or whatever, not LA or New York or London or whatever, because you can recognize it. Like it's the love of the game, and like it's just much different than commerce or wanting to be famous or just a whole. I mean, I'm starting to define what punk is, and I'm sounding like a hypocrite.
Well, let's move on. We have a couple more options here. Where do you want to go, please?
Well, in the vein of Sonic Youth, another band that really like got my circle of friends in the early 90s was Raised by Swervedriver. So this record was sort of, it was like, as a music fan, it came out, like whatever, 4 or 5 years after Sonic Youth. And it's much more like, Swervedriver is kind of like, in a way, they're like kind of an American band, like a rock band, and like a little bit more like masculine, at least this record. But it's totally like informed by, Sonic Youth and My Bloody Valentine, and and they got lumped into that whole shoegaze thing, right? But it's just actually also just a very aggressive record, and they mellowed out like over the years. But yeah, like my friend group and everyone in Samiam and so many bands that Samiam played with, like this record was very like on the top of the list, or the top of the, like on the pantheon of like influences and like all time greats. And it's like, you know, it came out I think in 90 or 91. We're talking about it in 2026, and I've listened to it. I put it on in 2026 several times, and I'm kind of like, not only is like a guitar player because it's a very like smart guitar record, just in a songwriting way and the energy and vibe way. It's just like so amazing. And I don't know, actually, you know, like Chad, the bass player of Ways Away and Semi, played me this record from a little bit before Ray's, but it was I forget the guy's name, but he was the guitar player of Birthday Party, and he goes, "There's no way that Swervedriver weren't listening to this like right after Ray's came on," and he played me a song that that was like, oh yeah, because it sounds very similar to a Swervedriver song that came on in Mescal Head, the next record called Train to Satansville. Wait, it's something like that. And the Birthday Party guys' music was way more like swamp rock and like garagey and psychedelic. But like you can just hear it. It's like, oh shit, yeah, it's Driver will listen to this guy for sure. It's probably listening to Birthday Party too, and
Yeah.
Dinosaur Jr. too.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
everything else that we were into. My group of friends all rolled into one. And when we went to see them live, we were like, oh, they look so cool, and they were like, we were like, oh, it's such a big thing. And when Sam I Am did a tour with them years later, like in '98 maybe, like, you know, it was really hard not to be like idiot fanboy talking to them and being around them, because they were such a big, especially in the '90s, but all the decades to follow, such a giant fan of theirs.
Yeah, Swervedriver are probably my favorite of that early British shoegaze scene, and I always put like way more importance on that band too in that scene. And I've come to learn later that like they weren't considered as big of a deal in that shoegaze sound as I thought they were at the time. I think some of that's retroactive, but what I loved about Swervedriver compared to like Ride or Slow Dive was just like the guitars, like, and how much energy and like and cool sounds they could get out of those guitars that the other bands just couldn't do. And it was to me they were like the way more impressive band out of that group.
Yeah. Especially live, like everything you wanted to hear, you heard. You know, I think I look back on that first time I saw them. My brother saw them on their first tour. They were opening up for Ned's Atomic Dustbin,
Wow.
and he's the guy that actually came back and told my whole friend group, I saw this band. They're even better than the band I went to see, like Ned's. And then within that year, we like, I mean, a pretty big friend group. Like we all, and everyone in Samiam, we like all fell in love with Swervedriver, and it was like a very influential, even though we don't sound anything like them, a very influential band to all of us.
Yeah, they're doing a tour for the record this year. It's like an anniversary, I guess. I think 35th maybe anniversary of that album, and I don't think they're coming anywhere near me. It's like a bummer.
Where are you? I don't even know where you are.
So I'm in North Carolina, and I think
Right.
I don't even know if they hit like DC. I think they may even like cut west like from there, because I think they skipped like Tennessee and all that stuff too. So
Not Baltimore even?
I don't think so. That would maybe be the closest, which is still like a 5 to 6 hour drive for me. So yeah, a little much. I'd love to see that show, but I would love to see them just at any tour too, because I'm sure they play a lot of that stuff anyway. Well,
Especially this one, they're going to play that record. So
yeah, and they're gonna play some like other stuff, probably just like big songs off of like Mescal Head and maybe what else came out after that. But yeah. We got two left, so we can go acoustic or we can go heavy metal. Which one do you want to do?
Well, we go metal. I talked earlier about how I'm from San Francisco area, and what was really big when I was like really young with older kids and young adults was thrash, and what ended up being like huge, but at the time was very small, and we were just lucky enough to be like just old enough to go to these shows, 'cause we saw like, you know, like Metallica in front of 100 people, and like Slayer many times. Saw Slayer, and there was like not no one there, but small shows. But a band that used to play all the time was Exodus, and we saw them a lot. And they played so often, they were local, that at the time my brother and I they weren't one of our top bands. We sort of maybe took them for granted or whatever. Like we didn't put them high up. I would say, as like Metallica or Slayer. Uh, uh, but this record that they put out, which is the only record of theirs that I really paid attention to, and I love to this day, which is so crazy because it's not recorded that well, and also they had the singer. His name was Paul Bailoff, who could not sing at all. Like he couldn't sing, and also he couldn't really scream that well. Like compared to what the decades of metal that followed, he had a very like unaggressive sounding voice and kind of would crack and obviously they knew it, and the producer knew it because there's like so much reverb on his vocals, and it's sometimes very comical. And the lyrics also are just not the most intelligent lyrics, but music to me, it's all opinions and perspective. It's just like so great. Like everyone loves Metallica, everyone loves like whatever, like Slayer and everything. And only some people like Exodus, but when I listen to this record, like the guitar playing especially, it's just like some of the more catchy and songs and riffs in that genre of like early thrash is what it's called. And if I put it on and I put it on every once in a while, I get very excited, like a little idiot. Like it's like there's a dive bomb start the record where it's like a bomb sound coming down, like, and it launches into the first song, which is just like that kind of like really fast muffled thrash guitar playing. And when I listen to that, like, and it's not recorded so well. It's recorded in, like the technology of low budget, early 80s. But there's something so freaking perfect and so of the moment and so often tried to be replicated and I should say never, rarely to bands come close, Like there's bands that sound musically like Exodus, like Power Trip, and even Drain, like their guitar playing sounds like the guys might have listened to Bonded by Blood. Have I said that yet? This record I didn't question is Bonded by Blood by Exodus. And they have the technology of nowadays and the equipment of nowadays and the proficiency probably that was better than young guys in 1982 or whatever year that came out was. But like with everything, there's always something about the first or the people that made it up or whatever, where I'm just like so much more in awe of it. And for me, like Bonded by Blood is one of like the most amazing pieces of music. It's just fucking thrash metal or whatever, but it's just kind of like one of the most amazing pieces. The fact that I love it so much and I don't like any other Exodus record or never really paid attention to it. And I also I said it already. Like, I just think the singer is like comically abysmal, and I still love this record. Just shows how much I love about everything that I love about it. You know, if I see a guy with the Exodus shirt or a Bonded by Blood shirt, because the cover was really cool, and it's every once in a while I see a guy walking around with a Bonded by Blood Exodus shirt, like. I'll go up and talk to the guy or whatever. Go, oh man, rad shirt! Like I saw that a bunch when I was a kid, and that record's so awesome. Yeah, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, that one I think was probably the biggest surprise on the list of records that you sent me. I don't know why that one specifically stood out to me so much, because really the last record might be the weirdest or the most different choice out of everything you picked. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily weird, but yeah it's funny because I'd not spent much time with Exodus. I listened to the record to get ready for this, and I listened to it. I was like, this is, it's pretty solid thrash. I'm kind of curious what it is about this particular album that got you here. And
yeah. And the thing is, though, it's like with everything, it's perspective. Like, when you talk to someone, you both like the same band, but you like this record, and the other person likes this other record, and you might argue about it. A lot of times, it isn't really like objectively what's the better songs or the better like production or whatever. A lot of times, it's just like your entry point, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is my entry point. This is what I spent the last 30 years fantasizing about when I listened to it and putting on a pedestal, because you mentioned before, because we both have healthy attachment to music, so it's like, I don't want to sound like an asshole when I say like any of these opinions about music. It's all opinions, and it's just my opinion. My opinion doesn't mean shit. So
it is something about like the first thing you hear by an artist is typically the thing you like the best, unless they just achieved something later that you just loved. But
yeah, I mean, often that's not true. Like, often it's the latter of what you just said. Like Radiohead, like I thought, OK Computer was just like, well, first I thought the Benz was the best thing ever, and now I don't listen to radio that much, but when I do, I listened to the two records that when they came out I was disappointed in because it was such a change, which is Kid A and Amnesiac the most. So, but I think, like you just said, it's like sometimes they just go places after they caught you.
I think it has to do with that particular album and the way everything sounds on that record that made you interested in them in the first place. That if they don't kind of recreate that, or at least go in a different direction that's also tapping into something similar in your brain, I think that's why the first one is often the one that we kind of like imprint on the most. But you're right. Yeah. Sometimes once you become like a real fan, then you find the deeper cuts and that becomes your favorite.
There's a record in a band that came out in 2015 that for people younger than us is really like a real giant record. And also people our age love. I love it. And it's that band Turnover's Peripheral Vision, where, they're a band, they're very popular, and they're doing a tour now, and they play in front of like 500 to 1,500 people. But last year they did album play, Peripheral Vision, and they fucking played at Red Rocks. It was like, I'm hard pressed to find another band in history that's like this, where one record is just so far beyond any other records for a band. Because then also I go into forums, because I'm a nerd, about Turnover, and people are really mean to Turnover, and they're like, they fucking suck. This is when they were good. Or actually, the forum I'm thinking about, I was on a long drive on this last tour, and I played Preston, our drummer, this band Spin, which is the guitar player from that record, Peripheral Vision, who got kicked out. And once they got kicked out, like from my perspective, the general consensus is like they haven't written a good song in freaking 8 years or whatever. And so I just went and was looking at the I think it was Reddit talk about this band Spin, that which is just like he left music for a number of years, and then last year he made a solo record where he sang and played guitar. He might have played all the instruments, I don't know. And it's very, very Peripheral Vision, very that one record by Turnover. And I was reading, there was maybe like 150 comments, and I was going down and reading them to Preston while he was driving, and we were both cracking up because every fucking comment was very complimentary to this guy. and very, very dismissive and downright mean to Turnover. Like, this sounds like Turnover when they're good, or obviously the genius of Turnover was this guy, not the guys that are still in the band, or I saw them last month. They fucking sucked when they played songs that weren't from Purple Vision. Like, it was just like, for just like over and over again, the same sentiment. And I'm sure there's people that love the last four Turnover records. I don't even know why I brought this up, but you were talking about the entry point, and I think we're almost everybody, even in 2026, the entry point for Turnover was this one album, and no one can get over it because they lost a key member, and also they play very different music. Like, their new record is so different, and no one wants it. I mean, not no one wants it, but like, the general consensus is like, this is not what we want from you. Last year, you headlined fucking several arenas on your tour and Red Rocks and stuff. And this year, this guy Preston, our drummer, lives in Vegas, saw in Vegas, and he said there's 400 people. Last year they played Red Rocks when they were doing the Peripheral Vision tour, and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
It is funny how a band can hit a peak and then like lose it too in a fairly short span of time too.
Yeah, I don't think the Turnover has lost it. I think they're a huge band. It's just like, Turnover is a certain size, and Turnover playing Peripheral Vision is exponentially bigger.
Yeah,
right?
It's the one record that makes it that much bigger. Well, should we do our last pick here?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you said that the Excess record and this one are like maybe oddballs compared to the others, and they're very different. But like, I just don't think it, like, any well-rounded person listens to one style of music and stuff. And like, mellow music is like generally what I listen to and stuff. And so, before, like, the same time when John Lennon was solo, there was Nick Drake, and he was doing what, like, if you like what's going on now, like Beck or Elliott Smith, or this, neither of those are now, I guess, but mellow, like indie kind of rock, kind of 60s tinged music, or if you like John Lennon solo, or just like any kind of singer songwriter or whatever. Like, one of the most amazing records was Pink Moon by Nick Drake. Insert music there.
Please beware of them that stare, they'll only smile to see while your time away. And once you've seen what they've been to, when the earth just won't seem worth a night or a day. Will you hear what I say? Look around, you find the ground is not so far from where you are. Don't be too wise, for down below they never grow, they're always tired, and charms are hired from out of their eyes. Never a surprise. Take your time and you'll be fine. Say a prayer for people.
So Pink Moon was just like I don't know when I discovered it. And like, the story of Nick Drake is really crazy because he committed suicide at a really young age. And it's like, there's one of the most amazing things was like how huge Nick Drake is, but there is no, as far as I know, there's no video record of him performing live or at home. Like, and there's nothing on YouTube, but I've read that there is none at all. Like, it doesn't exist on the planet. Which maybe there were some like home videos that have never been shared or whatever, lost, whatever. And he was a guy that he put out like 4 records, but they were on major labels. They were on big labels, and there was budget. But I think he was just like a failure in his time. And then there was like a bubbling around, for decades after he died, like in the 70s and 80s. But he didn't really get to be anywhere near what he is now, which is like a super famous guy, until they used one of his songs from Pink Moon, called Pink Moon, on a Volkswagen commercial. And that's embarrassed to say is how I discovered him was from this TV commercial. And to be honest, that's like an awesome way to learn about music. This the same thing happened with this Jose Gonzalez song that was on. I think it was on a maybe Microsoft commercial. Because like I'm not looking for my next favorite band or my next favorite record from a freaking commercial for a multinational car company corporation. But yeah, it's the record's great. Like there's a song that really grabbed me. That I remember when it grabbed me, I was just listening to the lyrics, and to me, it's about like the weirdness of life, the futility of life, the just like futility of like what we're doing with what effort we're worried about. It's called Things. What is it? I'm probably gonna get the title wrong, but it's Things Behind the Sun, and it's just like just like to me, like just like crazy, skillful poem, I guess, about what the fuck are we doing here? Concept, or what's this all? What is this all about? And then, like, if you're a guitar player like me, when you like try to learn how to play, which you can't, at least I can't. His guitar playing is like so unique and so unbelievable, and his sense of rhythm is just so like awe-inspiring or whatever. And he has that voice. I mean, I don't know. It's like I could say I like love Exodus or whatever and stuff, but that goes just to a certain point when it comes to something like Nick Drake. It's like way, 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 way beyond that because it like hits me on an emotional level and it hits me in like just like a purely like, oh, I like that song level, and it just I don't know, like same thing with movies or books or writers. Some things that live in your head and they're just so much bigger than just life. They're just like, wow, that is just so amazing,
Yeah, there are certain things that whenever we hear it, it means so much more to you than maybe someone else. And so it's always interesting to find out what other people's albums are like that. Like hearing Nick Drake like that for you, and like the first like Vic Chestnut record is like that for me. Like it's just an album that I just absolutely love and adore, and I just heard it at a random point in my life, and it just like it scratches something in my brain that just it satisfies me on a performance level, it satisfies me on just a creativity and just a craft songwriting level. It's really, everyone has such different feelings on music, and music is one of those genres. Like everyone has different opinions on film and books, but I feel like music, maybe because there's just so much of it out there, that everyone has their own unique taste and what they do and don't like. And even if you like the biggest, most commercial music, the ones you like versus the next person who likes the same genre might be completely different. So yeah.
When there's people that sort of like transcend that, though, that's also another amazing thing. There's just like giant musical entities that people love and are so big, but like I don't like Taylor Swift. Like it does nothing for me or whatever. There's a weird one. Is I don't like Bob Dylan. It doesn't speak to me or whatever, and it's huge. But then there's people. There's things like the Beatles where it's like there are people that hate the Beatles, but in general, almost everyone likes the Beatles, right? And when you get to that point, like it's like that's crazy,
Yeah, I'm a person who is not a Beatles fan, but I do recognize what they are.
Or you like maybe you don't like it because there are, like I said, there's a lot of people that don't like the Beatles, and there's a lot of people that hate the Beatles because I fucking hate it because my mom used to play it all the time, and I'm fucking sick of it. But like I think that like there's pieces of music, or like with classical music, I don't really like classical music, but there's times when classical music comes on, and I go, wow, that's fucking amazing, right? And everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone agrees, like, what Beethoven comes on, certain iconic things, everyone agrees, well, yeah, that's freaking amazing. Yeah. Whereas not everyone agrees that, like, Piranha by Exodus is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely universality, I guess, is it's rare. And when you do find it is kind of special. So, like, even as someone who's like, I don't really want to put on a Beatles record, but, like, I'll even admit that I'm a big fan of the earliest Beatles stuff, like the still wearing the suits and the Ed Sullivan Show era stuff. I love that like super cheesy love song era of the Beatles the most.
So do I actually.
I think there's maybe because it is maybe shaped more like what punk music eventually becomes than say like a Sgt. Pepper's or one of those kind of records.
I came back to it because initially, like, well, I was really late to the Beatles, but I came back to the Beatles early stuff after liking the the second act stuff, and just thinking like, oh yeah, but I don't like that stupid I want to hold your hand stuff. And then as years went by, and like Sgt. Pepper or whatever, or the White Album just got more and more like maybe not overplayed, but more just like played out in my head. I just went. We're talking about the Beatles, and you just said how you don't really care about the Beatles. I apologize. But I went back and developed like, I wouldn't say a stronger appreciation, but like a really appreciation for the Beatles that you like.
Yeah.
Because it is really different, but also it's like so freaking amazingly crafty and well done. And also sometimes like genuinely like simple, like thematically or whatever, like some I want to hold your hand, like I love you, like girl stuff, but done sometimes way better than anyone else. Like other bands in the last 60 years will make you fucking cringe when they write something with the word love on it, where somehow like the Beatles get away with it, because they're so good at it. I don't know.
For me, like Teenage Fan Club is like one of my all-time favorite bands, like 1A, 1B type stuff.
Yeah.
And they have tons of songs where it's the same repeated line, like over and over again. And they're just very lovey-dovey love songs, but they work just perfectly for me. I love it.
Yeah. Teenage Fan Club could easily have been on my top 5. Yeah. In fact, it probably battled itself out in my subconscious when I said Swervedriver, because at the same time, Teenage Fan Club was like also on the pantheon of me and all my friends. So.
Yeah, I'm going through another re-listen of their catalog, and I just listened to 13 last night again, and I've always thought the reaction to that record was strange, because at the time people hated it, and even today you'll still people who will be like, it's not as good. It's like, I mean, it's not bandwagon-esque, but I still think it's a phenomenal record. Like, it's kind of strange the way people dismiss that album.
Yeah. We loved it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, like, initially I didn't like songs from Northern Britain, but now I look back and I go, why didn't I like it? I thought it was like, oh, they dropped the indie rock at that point, or the sonic stuff. But now I listen to it and I go, well, yeah, it's not as sonic as earlier, but it's still got that. It's what we were talking about before, that you kind of want a certain something from someone when you love them, and when they sort of diverge, it can be really hard for you to be open-minded and let it in, right? When they change.
Yeah. Songs from Northern Britain is my favorite album by them. I love that record so much.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, I think we did it. I think we covered everything. And
we did, right.
We kept it right at an hour and a half. So mission accomplished there. We were able to do that. But I just want to say thank you again for doing the show.
Thank you for having me. And thanks for Justin to try to support the 7-inch. That's great. Thank you so much.
Where should people follow you online, get your records, all that fun stuff?
Waysaway has a thing called waysawayband.com, but you can just go to like Instagram and find Waysaway or Samiam or Knapsack or any of my bands. If you don't know about it already, like, you don't have to go back, everyone. Just like what you like. But if you wanted to, you can. I mean, the thing is, you can always Google a weird name like Sergie Loobkoff and find me, because I'm not named John Smith.
Yeah. You're easy to Google because there's not another well-known Sergie Loobkoff out there. So
there's no. I'm fairly certain there's no Sergie Loobkoff anywhere in the world.
Well, thank you again for doing the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And for everyone listening, thank you so much for listening. Go check out Ways Away, and I'll talk to you all next time.
To order Forever Young by credit card or COD, call now